Good morning, everyone. It's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. I have a couple of cards that I want to share with you, a couple more, I guess, using up scrap pieces of paper that you might have on hand. So I shared a video with you guys on Wednesday that featured some fun little card layouts to use up scraps, and so today I just kind of wanted to share a couple more. So these particular cards feature the new Ornate Garden Suite, so some of the products from that particular suite. So I've been making a lot of cards with this suite, and so I have a lot of scraps. So I try to make it a habit to kind of use my scraps up right away, so that's why I decided to share these with you. So I'm going to share just a couple of tips with you as well. We're going to make actually this card today, and then I'm going to make this one. And so there's just a couple tips I have for how to adhere these to kind of get them straight. So we'll start with this one. Good morning, everybody. So I have just a plain piece of white cardstock that I'm using for the base of my card. And then the scraps that I have, so I have a lot of scraps that are 3/4 inch wide, so that's what I'm using for this particular card. And then I just took the scrap pieces and I cut them down to 4 inches, so that way I can kind of mat them out on the card as I adhere them. So I have a variety of different patterns here, and I'm just going to use them all together. So, and you can use, you know, the same pattern. You can use different patterns like I am here. There's lots of possibilities. Good morning, good morning. So the first thing we want to do for making this particular card, this layout, is we want to start in the middle. So I'm going to adhere my middle piece first, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. You could measure it if you want to find out the exact center of your card, but I'm just going to eyeball it. And then I'm just going to add all the pieces around that center one. So that will just kind of help you align everything instead of starting at one end and kind of working your way across. We're going to start in the middle and we're going to work our way out. So it just seems to work a lot better. So we're going to leave about 1/4 inch in between each piece as I adhere it. And this is a really simple way to use up all of your, you know, really thin pieces of pattern paper. And in this card, I'm using 5 pieces. Mainly because that's about all I can get on here. You know, if I leave 1/4 inch in between, that's about all I can get. So I suppose I could have added some additional pieces on the side, but kind of like this look. All right, so that's basically it. And then for this card, I just decided to use some of the Ornate, what are they called? Ornate layer dies. So this is one of the dies, and then this is the other one, so they layered obviously nicely together. So I'm just going to add that little sentiment here. Good morning, you guys. How is everybody? I hope you guys are spending a lot of time in your craft room during this quarantine or shutdown that we're in. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, now I'm just going to add this little sentiment across here, and this card is done. So I'm just going to pop this sentiment up on the card, and you know, when you're using up your scraps, you can use whatever you know, whatever kind of shape that you have. If you have rectangular shapes, you can use those. You can put a little circle shape on there, whatever you want to do. And then I'm just going to add a couple little embellishments here. So these are some new gold gems. So they're really nice, kind of fun to play with. So I'm adding about 5 just to kind of make this pop a little bit. So this is what those little gold gems look like. All right, and that's it. So it's a great way to use up your 3/4 inch wide pieces of scrap paper. All right, the next one I want to share with you is, it's not really complicated, but I have a tip for how to adhere these. So you can, cut these down to size if you want. So I have a couple strips of 3/4 inch wide pattern paper. So you could just measure these and cut these down, but I find the easiest way to do it, instead of adhering them to your card front, is to take a 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of white cardstock, and we're going to adhere them on here, and I'll show you why. So the first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to stamp my greeting right across the card, or the cardstock I should say. So I'm just using this large "So Grateful" greeting. So you're going to stamp your greeting first, and then you're going to add all the pieces after that. So these pieces are cut, they're long, so they all have to be cut down. But we're going to actually adhere them up at the top here, just like this. I like to lay out my pattern first. And obviously you can see you can do it any way you want to. See, by laying it out, then I can tell how close I have to move these together. Okay, so we're going to start on the side here, and we're just going to adhere these one by one. And so I'm just going to add my adhesive kind of all the way up. And we're going to go right to the edge of this cardstock piece, and we're just above the greeting. And then what I'm going to do once I get these all adhered is we're going to cut these end pieces off. It just makes it a lot easier to adhere them this way, at least I find. Then I don't have to measure them all individually. Because every time you stamp your sentiment, you might get it, just a little bit higher or a little bit lower. So you'd have to re-measure these every single time, which is why if you just adhere them this way, then you don't have to re-measure that length. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And there's that, and we'll do the last one. And then I'm going to take these extra pieces and we're going to use them on the bottom. All right, now that I stuck it to the table. So now I'm just going to cut these off. And now I can use these leftover pieces on the bottom of the card. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what the top looks like. And now we're going to just do the same thing on the bottom. So let me grab my pieces here, find the ones I need. So now I'll just adhere these little leftover pieces right on the bottom, and we'll just follow the same pattern. So, and you can see I have some extra here. Like I said, this just kind of makes it a little bit easier to put the pattern together. I'm adhering as fast as I can. And the last one. Okay, so there's the last one. And then again, we're just going to cut off those extra pieces. So like I said, it just makes it a little easier, I find, to use up the paper or to adhere the paper this way. You probably don't need this extra piece of white cardstock, but if you don't use this extra piece of white cardstock, then you got to measure all these pieces before you adhere them. And then all we're going to do is just add that right to our card front. And that's it. All right. And then you can just embellish it like this one. I added just a couple of those little gems on the side just to embellish it. So just kind of a fun way to use up those scraps. Let me bring back the other one. And then the last one, this particular card, I just used a little larger scraps. So these are just 1-inch wide pieces. And then they're cut at various lengths and just adhered across the center of the card. And then I just embellished it with some of the die cuts from that new Ornate Garden. So just kind of some quick and simple card ideas that I wanted to share with you. I have all of the details, all the measurements for these out on my blog. So I've linked to that in the description with this video, so you can check that out. Otherwise, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far, wonderful morning. Have a great day, and I will see you guys again next week. Take care.